The champagne glass shattered against the hardwood floor of my parents' dining room. Every head turned toward Dad, his face drained of color. One hand still raised where he'd been holding his toast. Mom's fingers went white around her napkin. My younger brother Tyler stopped mid-bite, fork suspended in the air. But Grandpa William kept his arm around my shoulders, his phone already pressed to his ear. "Martin, yes, it's Bill. I need you to pull the disbursement records for the education trust I set up in 2006. The one for my granddaughter Emma." His voice was granite. "I'm standing in front of her right now, and she just asked me what college fund I'm talking about." I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The words education fund and $500,000 kept echoing in my skull. Around us, 30 relatives and family friends had gone completely silent. Someone's phone camera was pointed our direction. My Aunt Rebecca had her hand over her mouth. "Grandpa," I said quietly, "I worked 3 jobs to get through college. I lived in a basement apartment with black mold. I ate ramen for 18 months straight. My voice didn't shake. I'd learned not to let it shake." "What are you talking about?" His weathered hand tightened on my shoulder. "Into the phone. That's right. Every disbursement. Who received it, when, and for what purpose? I want it tonight, Martin. I don't care if it's Saturday." He ended the call and looked at my parents. "Tom, Jennifer, my office now." "Dad, this isn't the time," Mom started. "The time was 18 years ago when I set up that trust." Grandpa cut her off. "The time was every quarter when I transferred funds for Emma's education, her housing, her expenses. The time was when my lawyer called asking if I wanted to increase the amount because inflation was eating into it." He looked at me. "You really didn't get any of it?" "I got a card with $50 for my high school graduation," I said. "That's it." Tyler's chair scraped back. He was staring at Mom and Dad like he'd never seen them before. "Wait, Emma paid for everything herself? I thought Grandpa's money." "Shut up, Tyler," Dad snapped. But Tyler didn't shut up. "You told me Emma was too proud to accept help. You said she wanted to do it on her own. That's why I got the new car and the apartment and—" His voice cracked. "Oh my God!" The room erupted. Voices overlapped, accusations flew. My aunt was demanding answers. But I just stood there doing math in my head. $500K over 4 years. That was $125,000 per year. That was my tuition, room and board, books, food, a car, health insurance, everything. That was the difference between my life and the life I'd actually lived. The life where I worked the campus library closing shift until 2 a.m., then opened the coffee shop at 5 a.m., where I tutored on weekends, where I sold plasma twice a week for $40, where I wore the same 4 outfits for 2 years because I couldn't afford anything else, where I graduated with a 3.9 GPA and $89,000 in student loans, while my parents bought a lake house and a boat and sent Tyler to Europe for a semester. "Emma?" Grandpa's voice was gentle. "Tell me what happened." "All of it. I was 8 when I realized Tyler was different. Mom and Dad took him to Disney World for his birthday. They left me with Aunt Rebecca, told me I was old enough to understand that Tyler needed special attention because he was younger. When they came back, Tyler had a room full of new toys. I got a Mickey Mouse keychain. At 10, I won my school's science fair with a project on solar energy. Dad said, "That's nice," and went back to watching Tyler's soccer game on his tablet. Mom put the trophy on a shelf in the garage. When Tyler came in 3rd place in the Pinewood Derby 2 months later, they threw him a celebration dinner and invited the whole family. At 13, Tyler got driving lessons from a professional instructor. They bought him a used Civic the day he turned 16. Nothing fancy, they said. Just something reliable. When I turned 16, Dad handed me the keys to the 1998 Corolla with 200,000 miles that barely started in winter. "You're responsible," he said. "You'll take care of it." The Corolla died 8 months later. They didn't replace it. At 15, I asked about college savings. Mom looked uncomfortable. "We've been putting money aside," she said vaguely. Don't worry about it. What she didn't say. They'd been putting money aside for Tyler. His college fund statement sat on Dad's desk. I saw it once when I was looking for a stapler. $140,000 and growing. At 17, I applied to 14 schools. Got into 9, including 2 Ivy Leagues. Financial aid covered tuition at a state school 2 hours away. For housing and expenses, I'd need $15,000 a year minimum. I showed my parents the numbers at dinner. Mom pushed food around her plate. Dad cleared his throat. "We can help with about $2,000, he finally said. "Tyler's going to need support when he starts college in 2 years, and the lake house mortgage is—" "The lake house," I repeated. They'd bought it 6 months earlier. "Don't take that tone," Mom said. "We're doing our best. You're smart, Emma. You'll figure it out." "That's just who you are." I did figure it out. Student loans, work study, a job at a diner that paid cash under the table. I moved into that basement apartment for $400 a month. The mold made me sick all winter, but rent everywhere else was $800 minimum. I ate peanut butter sandwiches and ramen. I bought clothes at Goodwill. I walked everywhere because I couldn't afford a car. Meanwhile, Tyler went to a private school 3 states away. They paid his full tuition, rent for a 2-bedroom apartment, gave him a monthly allowance, and bought him a new car his sophomore year. When I asked how they could afford it, Mom said, "Tyler needs more support. You've always been independent." Translation: You're convenient to ignore. Every holiday I came home, the gap widened. They'd renovated the kitchen, bought new furniture, taken a cruise to Alaska. "Oh, Emma," Mom would say, noticing my worn coat. "Still being frugal, I see." "That's so smart of you." I stopped coming home my junior year. Made excuses about work, about studying. They didn't push. Tyler sent me texts sometimes. "Mom asked if you're coming for Thanksgiving." I said probably not, LOL. He added a shrugging emoji. By senior year, I had it down to a science. 38 hours a week between 3 jobs, 20 credit hours, 4 hours of sleep average. I tracked every dollar in a spiral notebook. Groceries, $140 month. Gas, $80. Utilities, $60. Student loan interest, accumulating at $247 month. I watched that number grow and grew, knowing I couldn't touch the principal until after graduation. I graduated summa cum laude. My student loan debt, $89,000. My savings, $340. My parents' attendance at graduation, 0. "Too expensive to travel," Mom texted. "But we're so proud." Tyler sent a gif of confetti. Grandpa William came. He drove 9 hours to be there. Sat in the arena for 3 hours to watch me walk across the stage for 30 seconds. Took me to dinner afterward at a nice restaurant where I ordered the cheapest thing on the menu out of habit. He insisted I get what I wanted. I cried in the bathroom because someone cared enough to show up. I didn't know he'd been funding my entire education from the shadows. Or trying to. The lawyer's email arrived at 9:47 p.m. We were still at my parents' house. Most of the guests had left, but Grandpa wasn't letting me go anywhere until he had answers. Tyler sat next to me on the couch, looking shell-shocked. My parents were in the kitchen, their voices a low, angry murmur. Grandpa's phone chimed. He opened the attachment, and I watched his face turn to stone. "Come here," he said quietly. I looked over his shoulder. It was a spreadsheet. Dates, amounts, descriptions. August 2019, $32,000. Emma's freshman year tuition and housing. October 2019, $4,000. Emma's books and expenses. January 2020, $5,000. Emma's spring semester housing. The list went on. And on. Every single line item said Emma. Every single disbursement was marked received by Thomas and Jennifer Morrison, my parents. Not me, my parents. They told me everything was being handled, Grandpa said, his voice shaking with rage. Jennifer sent me pictures of you at school. Updates about your classes. She thanked me for making it possible. He scrolled further. Over 4 years, I sent $487,000. What did they spend it on? My voice sounded far away. Tyler answered. The lake house down payment was $120,000. They paid cash. His face was gray. My study abroad was $25,000. My car was $30,000. The kitchen renovation was $40,000. He kept going, his voice getting smaller. Emma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought you wanted. It's not your fault, I said automatically. But Grandpa was already walking toward the kitchen. I followed. Mom and Dad stood on opposite sides of the island, both of them looking cornered. Dad's tie was loosened. Mom had been crying, her mascara smudged. You stole $500,000 from your daughter, Grandpa said. No preamble. That money was earmarked for Emma's education. You took it and spent it on yourselves. We were going to pay her back, Mom said desperately. We just needed what? A lake house? A boat? European vacations? His voice could have cut glass. While Emma was selling her plasma for grocery money, Dad tried a different approach. Dad, you don't understand the financial pressure we were under. The timing was bad, and you thought you'd steal from your child and hope no one noticed. Grandpa pulled out his phone again. Martin is filing an embezzlement report with the police tonight. He's also freezing the remaining trust fund I set up for Tyler. What? Tyler appeared in the doorway. Grandpa, I didn't do anything. I know you didn't, son. But that money isn't safe with your parents as trustees. We'll set up a new arrangement. He looked at my parents. You have two options. Option 1. You repay Emma every dollar, with interest, within 90 days. Option 2. I pursue criminal charges for embezzlement and fraud. Mom's legs seemed to give out. She grabbed the counter. We don't have that kind of money. The lake house is mortgaged and the market's down, and then you sell the lake house. You sell the boat. You liquidate everything you bought with money meant for Emma's education. Grandpa's jaw was set. You have 90 days. If Emma isn't made whole, I'm calling the district attorney personally. He owes me a favor. You can't do this to your own family, Dad said, but there was no strength in it. You did this to your own family, I said. Everyone looked at me. I'd been silent so long they'd almost forgotten I was there. You let me work myself sick. You watched me struggle. You knew I was eating ramen and selling plasma, and you said nothing. You took money that was meant to keep me safe and you spent it on luxuries. My voice was steady. Calm. I'd had 4 years of practice staying calm. You made me believe I wasn't worth investing in. That I had to earn everything alone. That I was just naturally more capable of suffering. Emma, you don't understand, Mom started. I understand perfectly. You chose yourselves over me. Every single time. I looked at Tyler. I don't blame you. You didn't know. Back to my parents. But you did. And you did it anyway. I picked up my purse. Grandpa, can you give me a ride? Where are you going? Mom's voice was panicked. Away from you. I headed for the door. Don't call me. Don't text me. I'll talk to Grandpa's lawyer about the repayment plan. But I'm done with you. Emma, please. You told me I was independent, strong, that I didn't need help. I opened the front door. Cool night air rushed in. You were right. I don't need help. I definitely don't need yours. I walked out. Grandpa followed. Behind us, I heard Tyler say, "She's really leaving?" And Mom's sobbing response, but I didn't look back. In Grandpa's car, he didn't start the engine right away. Where do you want to go? I don't know, I admitted. I have an apartment 3 hours away. I start a job in Denver next month. Software development, good salary. You got a job in tech? His voice held surprise and pride. I taught myself coding junior year. Figured it was more lucrative than my English degree. I laughed, but it came out broken. I've gotten good at figuring things out alone. You won't be alone anymore, he said firmly. I'm going to fix this, and Emma, I'm so sorry. I thought you were being taken care of. I should have checked. I should have visited more, asked more questions. It's not your fault. I meant it. You tried to help. They stole it. That's on them. He drove me to a hotel, paid for a suite, told me to order room service and charge it to him. We'll talk tomorrow about next steps, he said, but tonight, you rest. You've earned it. Alone in the hotel room, I sat by the window and looked out at the city lights. My phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Mom. 8 from Dad. 3 voicemails. A text from Tyler. Emma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Please talk to me. I turned the phone off. The consequences came faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, my parents listed the lake house. The market was bad, Grandpa was right about that. They'd bought at the peak for $480,000, put $120,000 down, and owed $360,000. Now it was worth maybe $420,000. After realtor fees and closing costs, they'd walk away with maybe $40,000. The boat sold for $15,000. Mom's jewelry, another $8,000. They canceled Tyler's upcoming semester abroad. He'd have to stay at his school in the US. The new car went back to the dealership. I heard all this through Tyler, who called from a friend's phone because I'd blocked my parents. They're panicking, he said. Dad took a second job. Mom's talking about going back to work. They got a lawyer, but Grandpa's lawyer is apparently terrifying, and they know they can't win. He paused. Emma, they're asking if you consider accepting less than the full amount. No. I figured. Just had to ask. Another pause. For what it's worth, I told them I'm paying my own way from now on. I can't accept money that was supposed to be yours. Tyler, you don't have to. Yeah, I do. I benefited from their theft even if I didn't know about it. I'm transferring to a state school, getting loans, getting a job. I'll figure it out. His voice hardened. Like you did. By day 45, my parents were drowning. The lake house still hadn't sold. They'd drained their savings, taken loans against Dad's 401k, borrowed from friends. They were $300,000 short with 45 days left. Mom tried showing up at my new apartment in Denver. I don't know how she got the address. I opened the door, saw her standing there looking 10 years older, and said, "You have 30 seconds before I call the police." Emma, please. We'll lose everything. We made a mistake, but we're family. You stole from me. You're not my family. You're thieves who share my DNA. I started closing the door. We'll go to prison. She shouted. You should have thought of that before you committed embezzlement. The door clicked shut. Through it, I heard her sobbing. I felt nothing. Day 87. The lake house finally sold, but for $395,000. After costs, they netted $25,000. They'd scraped together another $180,000 from various sources. Still $282,000 short. Dad called Grandpa, begging for mercy, offering to pay in installments over 20 years. Grandpa said no. Full amount or criminal charges. No exceptions. On day 89, they declared bankruptcy. The lawyer filed papers. They lost the main house, the one I grew up in. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a bad part of town. Dad's credit was destroyed. Mom couldn't get hired anywhere because background checks showed the fraud investigation. On day 90, Grandpa called the district attorney. The criminal case took 18 months. My parents pleaded guilty to embezzlement and fraud. Dad got 2 years probation and 500 hours community service. Mom got 18 months probation. They were ordered to pay restitution, $487,000 plus interest, to be garnished from their wages for the next 30 years. They'll be paying it off until they're 78 years old. I'm sitting in my Denver apartment now, 3 years later. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the mountains. The coding job turned into a senior developer position, then a team lead role. My student loans are paid off. Grandpa helped. Called it partial restitution, since my parents could only pay $800 a month combined. Taylor graduated last spring. We're close now. He visits every few months. He works in marketing, has his own apartment, paid his own way through his last 2 years. He told me once, "You taught me what integrity looks like." I haven't spoken to my parents in 3 years. They've sent letters, emails, cards on my birthday. All of them say the same thing. We're sorry, we made a mistake. Please forgive us, we're family. I throw them away unread now. Grandpa comes to visit next week. We have dinner once a month, video calls every Sunday. He's teaching me about investments, about building wealth, about protecting yourself legally. Trust, but verify, he always says. I learned that lesson too late. My apartment has a little balcony. I keep my old plasma donation card framed out there, next to a photo of me at graduation, the one where I'm in my cap and gown, exhausted but smiling, holding my diploma. The diploma I earned with $89,000 in debt while my parents spent my education fund on lakefront views. Some people say I should forgive them. That family is family, that people make mistakes, that holding grudges only hurts me. But I'm not hurt, I'm free. I chose myself. I chose peace over their chaos. I chose boundaries over their guilt trips. And every morning when I wake up in this apartment I paid for, with the job I earned, with the life I built from absolute nothing, I know I made the right choice. The plasma card reminds me, I survived on $40 twice a week while they lived in luxury on money meant for me. I don't need their apology. I don't need their explanation. I don't need them. I have Grandpa. I have Tyler. I have friends who showed up when it mattered. I have a career I built myself from free YouTube tutorials and library computers and pure stubborn will. And I have peace. If you've ever been the child who was convenient to overlook the one who had to earn every scrap while others were handed abundance, the one who was told you were strong enough to handle neglect, know this. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them anything. Build your life. Protect your peace. Choose yourself. They chose themselves first. You're just returning the favor. Share your story in the comments. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories of justice and boundaries. Protect W.